Alright, now that we introduced the reciprocal and quotient identities, I just wanted to go ahead and do one or two practice problems. And we will do one from our book here. It tells us that if the cotangent of x is equal to 2 over 5 times the square root of 5, and that the sine of x is equal to the square root of 5 over 3, find the cosine value. Alright, we know that the cotangent of x is really equal to the inverse of tangent, which was, of course, sine over cosine. So the tangent of x really is going to equal the cosine over the sine value. Now we know from this part of the problem that's given that we know that the sine value is equal to the square root of 5 over 3. We're also told in the problem that the cotangent of x is equal to 2 divided by the 5 times the square root of 5. So let's plug in what we know now. We know that the cotangent, which is 2 over 5 times the square root of 5, and again we got that from the part of the problem that was given right here, and we plugged that and replaced it with that, and that is equal to cosine over sine, and we were told in the problem that our sine value is square root of 5 over 3. Square root of 5 over 3. So what we want to do is we want to solve and find the cosine value. That was the problem that they asked for us to solve. So if we cross multiply, we have the cosine value being equal to 2 times the square root of 5 over 3 times 5 is 15 times the square root of 5. And again, what I did here is cross multiply. I multiplied the tops together, 2 times the square root of 5, and I multiplied the bottoms together, 5 times the square root of 5 times 3, and we got 2 times the square root of 5 on the top, and we got 3 times 5, which is 15, times the square root of 5 on the bottom. So the cosine is equal to 2 times the square root of 5 divided by 15 times the square root of 5. Well, we see that we have the square root of 5's on the top and the bottom. We can cancel those out. And that leaves us with our answer of cosine is equal to 2 over 15. Alright, now let's go ahead and do another practice problem here together. Our next problem that we have says that if cosine of x is equal to 1/6 and the sine of our angle is equal to the square root of 35 over 6, find the cotangent of the angle. Alright. Well, we can think about the cotangent of what it's equal to. What I would think of first is what tangent is equal to. So if we went that route, we know that tangent of an angle is equal to the sine over cosine. And we know the cotangent is the inverse function of that. So the cotangent is going to be equal to the inverse or the cosine over the sine. Well, we're told what the cosine is and we're told what the sine is. So really all we have to do is plug in what we know. We know the cosine is equal to 1/6. We know that the sine is equal to the square root of 35 over 6. And if we take the reciprocal of the denominator and multiply that times the denominator, or the numerator, I'm sorry. Then we see that our 6's can cancel and we end up with 1 over the square root of 35. Hopefully you're thinking we can't leave that the way it is, and you're right. So we're going to take 1 over the square root of 35, and what are we going to do with that? Sure, we're going to multiply it by the square root of 35 over the square root of 35. Our radicals get canceled out with 35 in the denominator, and we end up with the square root of 35 in the numerator, and our answer is the square root of 35 over 35. All right, by now I hope you're thinking that this really isn't too bad, and I think that I could agree with you at this point. So we'll do one more problem like this, and then we'll move on to a new identity. So the last problem we'll do is if the secant of an angle is equal to 8, and the tangent of an angle is equal to 3 times the square root of 7, find the cosecant. Alright, well, I'm looking at secant there, and I know that it is the inverse function of cosine. So secant is equal to 1 over cosine. And so if the secant is 8, cosine, of course, would be equal to the inverse of that, or 1/8. Alright, now, we're given also that the tangent of the angle is 3 times the square root of 7. So let's go ahead and put up our identity formula here. We know the tangent of an angle is equal to the sine over the cosine. So let's plug in what we know now. We're told by the problem right here that the tangent is equal to 3 times the square root of 7.